We are live.
Let's go! Oh, it's good to be back, brother. It's good to be back. What a great week. We got a hell of an episode in front of you guys. We got the whole Russiagate 2.0 involving our good friend, Tim Pool, involving some other conservatives, a couple people from the Daily Wire. You got a lot of people involved in this, Alan. It's crazy.
It's a crazy ass story, and it's like, it's almost like, is it on purpose to set it up to discredit independent media? Like, I mean, like how like there's so many unknown variables to it too, which I think that like one of the things we're going to talk about is how everybody is like, we have a lot of companies already taken action basically, and it's like, this is brand new. And why don't we just, if we could load something up here real quick and let's just get to it, because it's so crazy.
Load this up. This is from our good friend and I would like to say our black friend.
Yeah.
That means we can't be written. And Malcolm actually, he gave us the N-word pass.
Yeah, he did.
And that means that he's a good friend, because those are hard to come by these days. Hard to come by. Mine expired. He renewed it right away. It was fantastic. But let's go to good old Malcolm Flex.
They expire? Shit, I got.
Yeah, it's usually 24 to 36 months. And I was right at like 23 months. I only got the 2-year pass. And Malcolm's like, he didn't even check my history, didn't check if I misused it. He just renewed that shit right away. It was amazing. Thank you so much, awesome. Malcolm.
Just stamped it, right?
Stamped it, just rubber stamped, just boop, done. So Malcolm Flex, and we'll play his video in a second. Let it be known that I told people when the Lauren Chen and Tenet Media drama broke out to just chill, relax. No one is causing chaos on behalf of Russians. No one is spreading propaganda, but even conservatives jumped the gun over the word of the DOJ. And I have a lot to say about the DOJ. This is the new, stay tuned. We're going to get rowdy as YouTube lets us get, which means it's rated G. Like, it's not going to be the old rated XXX stuff we used to do. This is going to be very soft core. This is going to be like not even anime. This is like not even hardcore. This is the new censorship campaign. The US will join Brazil and the UK in censoring, but this time over the threat of hostile foreign actors. Ladies and gentlemen, Malcolm Flex.
I got to be honest with y'all. The hysterics on both the right and the left over this whole Lauren Chen matter.
By the way, just put this in perspective. Malcolm is about 6'5", and he also can fight. So he's a guy you want on your team.
I was wondering what vehicle he's in. Like that's how big he is.
It's got to be an SUV. It's got to be some tall like Yukon or like Tahoe or something that could fit. Like, he's a large man. Like, he is. Right. I mean, when you're like, he's a former D1 athlete, like football player, not like tennis. Like, this dude he's one of those people you look at and you're like, what the hell planet did that thing come from? Yeah. But anyway, I'll go back to our black friend.
Or have basically created a worst case scenario, because what's going to end up happening, and I need you guys to stay with me on this. Big tech all over the world has been under attack by government entities because of misinformation, disinformation, and hostile foreign actors, quote unquote. That's really been the auspices to impose greater censorship. We've seen something like this going on in Brazil. The UK is cracking down on people for mean tweets. The United States variation of this will come because of foreign state actors, quote unquote, interfering in our elections and in our matters through content. Now, keep in mind, Lauren may have taken money from Russians that were formerly associated with RT, but there is no such evidence, not even in the indictments, that they had true editorial control over what was being pushed or made. We even saw that based on the content. So now, to see YouTube do this, it basically signals, it's the first shot across the bow, that essentially they're going to start taking down content that they suspect to be Russian interference or disinformation being seeded through influencers. And guess what? The content that they took down is just baseline conservative talking points. It's not even that strong of, far-right rhetoric. It's just baseline conservative anti-woke stuff. So get ready, because now when they start coming after anti-woke content, y'all kind of gave him the credence because I told people, ignore this shit. Let it go. It doesn't matter. But you didn't fucking do it, bro. You didn't fucking.
All right. Well, I mean, we could pretty much end the podcast right now.
We're done.
That sums up everything. Holy shit, Malcolm. That was amazing. So here's my take.
Mhm.
It's just like Trump's indictments. Indictments are nothing more than an accusation. Like
Right.
the word indictment does not mean proof. It means that, hey, we are accusing you of doing this. Show us proof that you didn't do this. Or even if you do show proof, they're going to take you to court because the government has unlimited legal funds. And when your government is acting like a banana republic, going after all dissenters of the current regime in office, that's when you have problems where there is no justice. We have a system right now where no one's paying attention to what the Supreme Court says, where states are basically ignoring federal law, which I think is going to end up being a good thing for us. And we've gone over that where if Kamala or someone even more extreme, which we're going down that road, gets elected, the states will be like, nah, we're not doing it. Sanctuary, not doing it. And then they're going to be like, we're not going to give you federal funding. The states can be like, cool, we're not paying taxes. So that's where I see this heading. This is no more than Russiagate 2.0. Now, even if there was money from a Russian actor, who cares? Like, who cares? Here's the deal. Media, we can't lie, we can't deny that 75% of CNN and MSNBC's ad revenue comes from Pfizer. While Pfizer is an American entity, it is an entity that has profit and something to gain from alliance with America, and they've received America taxpayer funds for their product. Basically, by giving these shots for free, that is taxpayer funded. There's no such thing as free shots. Someone is paying for them. So so let's say, so we go on about APAC, we go on about all these things. At the end of the day, it's up to the consumer of the information. The only time I believe it should be any issue with foreign money is if it's going to political officials. That is the only time. But putting out a podcast, I think we should be able to have, Vladimir Putin should be able to start a YouTube channel and say, hey, here's my beliefs on things. So it's up to the consumer to decipher that language and figure out what's true and what's not true. And I know that's a lot to digest, but that comes with free will. So I'm not saying that these people were Russian agents. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying that, so what if they were? So what if they were? At the end of the day, China owns large portions of many American companies, including one I do business with, GNC. GNC was bought by a Chinese corporation. You look forward to Europa Sports. They were going through some financial times. They were bought out by a Chinese company. Chinese companies are buying up American companies. It just is what it is. Why? Because the American economy is really bad and our companies aren't investing in our companies. Now, could these be government agents? Well, every company in China is a government agent because they operate under a communist regime. So my contention isn't arguing if or if not this happened. My contention is, so what? So what? I want Ukraine should be able to fund CNN. I don't care. It is up to the American consumer to kind of weed this out. So the problem is when a platform like YouTube, one that we're on right now, and we really like being here. So this is just freedom of speech, I guess, but we don't have it anymore. They could take us down any second, right? But so you have someone like YouTube will censor certain and not censor others. For example, CNN and MSNBC is obviously, they're taking most of their money, most of their revenue is coming from Pfizer, Moderna, Big Pharma. Okay. So what happened during 2020 and 2021 up till even now is that they are censoring contradictory statements, even though they might be true, to Big Pharma, because Big Pharma is what they're reliant on for the money. So if we say that foreign governments can't get involved, we also have to say, well, private companies can't advertise either, because they could be doing that to gain full publishing rights. And that's the problem, is that when I was in publishing, we did the same thing. We would not run negative editorial contradictory to what our advertisers said. The only way to make that fair is to make it where, hey, you know what? You can advertise all you want. And okay, so they invested in Tenet. They were giving them this money. And apparently these podcasters were getting like $100,000 an episode. But apparently, even in the indictment, people are like, Tim Pool did this, Tim Pool did that. Tim Pool didn't know. He just knew he was getting a big paycheck to let them play his shit on their channel more than he'd make in ad revenue on his own channel. So any of us, and don't say you wouldn't, from the Young Turks to Dave Rubin, who's involved as well, anybody would be like, wait, if someone came to Evening Rants tomorrow, Alan, they said, hey, we want to host your podcast on our platform. We're going to give you $50,000 an episode. I wouldn't even do background checks. I'd be like, cool. When it hits the bank, you get the episode, right?
My only question would be, do I still have complete autonomy over the words I say?
So they did.
That's my only thing.
They did. Tim had no idea. So they did. So as long as the podcasters had full control of what they said. But here's the thing, that's an ethical decision on our part. But let's say Lauren Chen was like, all right, like I'll do the job, no problem. I don't see a problem. I just don't, because I believe in freedom of information. So if Russia wants to pay somebody, and look, everybody does it. Pfizer does it with CNN and MSNBC, and I believe they should be able to. But I also believe that there should be some checks and balances. This is where I'm not a complete libertarian, where the government is like, hey, YouTube, instead of going and supporting and telling them to take down myth information, which we'll get to that later with what Kamala Harris said.
Yeah.
The government should be like, okay, guys, we'll let you run the Pfizer stuff. We'll let you be pro-Pfizer. But you also have to allow dissenting opinion. You cannot base your editorial guidelines on Pfizer financial interests. What say you, Alan?
Well, the thing is, and I agree with everything you said, but I wonder why there's no, it's very one-sided always, right?
Yes.
So the media can lie. I mean, they're still on the media saying how effective the jab is and all that stuff. Like they can openly just say things that aren't true, right? And my question is, who gets to decide what disinformation and misinformation is? Because that's the actual power, right? Yep. Like I'm like what you and I did at the beginning of the pandemic was research every fucking thing. That's what I normally do about everything.
That's why we're right. That's why we were right, because we were going by actual data and not left-wing talking points.
Exactly. So, like, do your research. I try not to believe anything anybody says. It's easy to get caught up in fake bullshit, especially with AI and all that stuff. But reality is that one side can say completely untrue things. Like Tim Walz has lied like 40 or 50 times. Like, should he be deplatformed? He's a vice presidential candidate. Hell no, he shouldn't be. I mean, it started back when they deplatformed Trump without any charges pressed against him, anything like that. They deplatformed him from every social. They took the president of the United States, the seated president of the United States, off of social medias. They didn't allow him to speak. It just shows where we're at with this. So it's all one-sided. The only thing that makes me think that this is kind of a setup against a lot of the like independent media, like bigwigs, like Tim Pool. When you think of independent media, you think of Tucker Carlson. You think of, maybe Joe Rogan. He's not really media. He's more of a talk show. But then you think of Tim. Like, I mean, Tim Pool is a huge part of what we would consider the independent media. And Tim has opened the doorway for many, many, many people too. So yes. Getting him involved in something like this, getting Dave Rubin involved in stuff like, you know what I mean? Like all of these people who are considered the leaders of independent media are all of a sudden painted with Russia, Russia, Russia. And then moments later, Kamala Harris is talking about how people have lost their freedom of speech privilege, and shit like that, where it's like, I've seen too much in the last 4 or 5 years to think that this couldn't possibly be a setup to completely to try to discredit independent media, which, by the way, for those of you that are watching, one of the reasons why I'm happy Mark and I didn't go live yesterday is so we could take a pause, so we can take a moment about this and think about this. Yes. And I'm very happy we did, because I think Tim Pool handled it excellently. The only thing my only warning, Tim, is if you go to talk to the FBI, make sure you have a lawyer with you. That's
Tim's not dumb. Yeah, Tim, and he's also like, the thing is, Lauren Chen not speaking. People are like, why hasn't she said anything? I guarantee you her lawyer's like, just don't say a word.
Yeah.
Don't say a word. So she might or might have not done it. And my contention is she should have been able to do it. And I know that sounds, oh, Mark, you're a Russian propagandist. No, I'm not. Look, man, I'll be honest with you. We are not big enough to take money from Russia.
No, yeah.
Like Russia doesn't even know we exist. And I am not. Look, man, even though I do have some, so my great grandfather was a rabbi in Russia. I know that. So that I found out recently. but I have no ties to Russia, and I think Ukraine's great. I just don't think we should be involved. That's my only contention. And I do believe that Russia is always, it goes back to Rocky IV for me. Like, Russia's been the bad guy since the Cold War. And every time something happens, we always play the whole Russia boogeyman thing. Like, oh, Russia bad. And there, it's always shown to be bullshit. Always, every time. What happened to Russiagate? What happened to Russia? What happened to the dossier? Like, those are things that we need to understand. Russia is such an easy, low-hanging fruit. They're like, oh, you're a Russian agent. Putin came out yesterday and supported Kamala. He's like, I'd rather her win. She's weak.
Yes.
Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to look at the facts. And the fact of the matter is, we should not be involved in a foreign war. We should not let Ukraine in NATO. I don't think we should be in NATO at all. I think NATO should be dissolved. America should walk away from it. Why are we involved in a world peacekeeping operation? How about we keep the peace here? We got Venezuelan migrants, illegal migrants, I might add, taking over entire cities. And at first they're like, this is not happening. And then the cops are like,
this is a perfect example.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example, because when people started saying like this is happening, everybody's like, oh, that's disinformation. It's disinformation. The media is calling it disinformation, all that stuff. And then like the mayor of Aurora is like, yeah, they've taken over like 2 or 3 of these motherfuckers. And then you find out that it's been going on since the like late 2023. You know, it's been going on almost the entire year.
Great argument for 2A right there. Why do you need long guns? Well, we need ARs because there's 21 of them taking over our apartment. I need a large magazine with a lot of bullets because you guys can't secure the damn border, and the cops are afraid to be called racist. There was this viral clip from where I grew up, Culver City, California. I don't know if you saw it, where the cops are like, I know they committed a crime. We're not arresting them because they're illegals and we just can't do it. It's a sanctuary city. Culver City used to be based. Yeah, that was where I went to I went to Culver City High School, class of 98.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, it's gone to shit. So, I mean, I want to leapfrog to this right here. I'm going to, let me see if I can find it. So basically, now there's the big, because there was a school shooting, and of course we should not take school shootings light. But of course, you know, the left always jumps on this to grab guns, right? This should be displayed in Congress. A kid under a desk. What, for earthquakes?
Yeah.
That was what we did when I was in school in California. We had earthquake drills. I don't know if they still do it, but after the Northridge quake,
I did that for nuclear war drill.
Yeah,
yeah, because
going under a desk,
hiding in your desk is going to help.
That'll help the radiation. So here's the deal: with freedom comes, you know, there's some give and take, right? So the fact of the matter is, there's a reason why Venezuelan immigrants aren't taking over apartment complexes in Franklin, Tennessee.
Right.
Because they'd be outgunned and everybody in the city would come. They'd be out of this town within 5 minutes. And the cops would come and the cops would be like, hey, so I'm not going to say which police department said this. My buddy's house was robbed and they came home during the robbery. Okay.
Ooh.
So my friend's he's a man. I'm not going to say, so he's a man. So what he does, they're on foot. The getaway car's down the road. He gets in his car and he chases them. And he calls the cops. He has a very fast car. I'm not going to say what car. Let's just say it's really fast. I have friends with really fast cars. And so he's chasing them. And so he calls the police while pursuing these criminals in a high-speed chase. He says, hey, I'm chasing these guys. Like, okay, we got your back. The cops weren't like, stop chasing them. They're like, all right, let's go. And so anyway, cops come up, they catch him. And so the cops told him, and again, I'm not giving legal advice, not telling you how to handle situations. If you caught them, you can take matters into your own hand here because you're protecting your property. So even after chasing them down, if he would have chased them down and taken care of justice his own way, I'm not going to say the words.
Yeah.
The cops would have been like, sounds good to me, bro. Have a nice night.
Well,
and let's just say these guys were not caught and released. They were put out on some absurd, like $2 million of bail. That's how Tennessee does it. That's how my county does it. And the cops are on your side. So, but what does that say? Second Amendment. In these Second Amendment friendly states and cities, you are much safer. Colorado went full blue. People are afraid of guns. People think guns are not going to solve it. You know why? Because criminals don't follow the laws.
Right.
They don't. And this kid, yeah, his dad bought him a gun. That's cool. My kids don't have access to guns, but I have videos of me taking them to the range all the time. They respect guns. And also my kids aren't transmissions. I'm talking about cars. They're not gender confused. And
right.
and they're not gender confused. And they're not on SSRIs. And this story of the school shooter is going to be swept under the rug. We're not hearing about the shooter anymore because people dug up his social media. Turns out he was gender confused. I think that's YouTube friendly. Gender confused. And that's who's doing it. I mean, these people, meaning these deranged murderers. Look, man, I blame the doctors. I blame the teachers. I blame the parents. I definitely blame the parents. So I'm at a point now where the protection for the schools, we're never going to get firearms out of the hands of bad people. It's just not going to happen. There's too many of them. What we need to do is what we do in this state. And the school, the Covenant School, was a private school, so it wasn't utilizing local officers. Every school in this area has multiple sheriff's deputies on campus at all times.
Awesome.
What we need to do is we need to protect our children. Israel, right? Their teachers carry weapons. Yeah. So that's the only way. Look, guys, we're not going to wave a magic wand and have gun control. There is too many guns out there. And also criminals don't follow laws. They're not going to participate in your gun buyback. You don't see a good law-abiding concealed carry permit holder doing these crimes. It is deranged, twisted, mentally ill, medicated. I guarantee you they're not going to release this information ever. There's SSRIs involved. Absolutely.
I would argue that there's more commonality in the type of SSRI that most of the mass shooters have been on in the course of the last 10, 15 years than anything else, like than the weapons they've used, stuff like that. I would, if you look at them, they're all mentally ill, but it's always the excuse to take the weapons. I posted something up yesterday. If you look at the gun deaths in America and you take out the suicides, and this is murders, this includes accidental deaths too, by the way, which happens way more than people think because people don't practice gun safety. It's insane, but it's like 23,000 in 2022, right?
Wow.
Or 23,000, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot. It's not. It's not a small number by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's 36 children. That's a lot, but when you consider that 460,000 children go missing a year in America, it doesn't seem like that big of a number, right? So we're worried about the ones that get shot, but not the ones that get abducted to be trafficked, which is very strange to me.
It is strange.
But let's take the guns, right? And then if you look at it, so 23,000 people died from gun violence, basically. And 375,000 people died from medical error, and 300,000 people just died from being obese. So what's our real problems as a society, And I would argue that a huge number of the people that are causing the gun violence, not even just the school shootings, are mentally ill. Like there's something going on there, right? And we don't seem to want to address that. We just want to take the guns. People that I don't even think that they're talking about banning guns anymore as like thinking they're actually going to. They're trying to goad people into violence.
Yes.
I really believe that, yeah, exactly. Somebody's talking about how psychiatric medicine and infectious disease are psychiatric medicine has gone well over the tipping point. When
Yes.
you have like 40% of all teenagers right now have a diagnosis of mental illness. Where do you think that's coming? First of all, where do you think that's coming from? And secondly, why has it skyrocketed so much? Could it be that we're feeding them garbage and then we're medicating them after we feed them garbage? You know, like it's this crazy thing. It's always where they want to try to like make it seem like it's this enormous deal. If it was an enormous deal, put an armed guard at at every entrance. Like
Yes.
hire veterans to drive the kids to school.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
To drive them to school.
Yeah.
And then they once they drop them off at school, they can be at every entrance. It gives veterans jobs, and then it also protects the children and the people. And I point this out all the time. The people that are talking about you don't need guns, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need blah blah blah, you don't need blah blah blah, are all protected by heavily armed people at all times.
Well, my argument is Trump gets elected.
Mm-hmm.
The only protection from his tyranny is the Second Amendment. So leftists should be on board. It just, I mean, think about it. Like they're afraid of him being a tyrant.
They're planning on him not getting elected, though. Dude, I don't think they're going to transfer power.
Well, then we have an issue beyond anything we can even talk about. Then it's an issue that I don't want any part of. Like that is, I don't think people understand what happens if the company, people who are calling for it, like we need this. No, we think we should have a peaceful, separation of states, a peaceful divorce. I don't think anybody is, at least I'm not advocating for any kind of civil conflict. That would behoove nobody. That would be a really bad situation. That'd be a really, really, really bad situation if we had a civil conflict, because you can't come back from that. And it's not the 1800s. It ain't happening. But here's what we were talking about. Like there used to be something in this world called due process. And here's where I'm kind of scared. This is what scares me, because other countries are doing it. It's from Ashley St. Clair, not Sinclair, St. Clair, because we got confused once. If allegations are true, I hope they prosecute Lauren Chen to the fullest extent of the law, which I disagree with that. I disagree with Ashley on that. But that's okay. What she's saying is still true. But YouTube taking down all of these channels and videos without a trial is gross overreach. There isn't even an indictment for Lauren or her husband as of yet. Dangerous precedent. So again, I commented zero due process. And the bottom line is there is zero due process. An indictment is not a conviction, people.
No.
An indictment is the DOJ saying, hey, we found some stuff. And I can say the DOJ was not acting they weren't acting in the interest of America. They were acting in the interest of the Democrat Party here. Mm-hmm. They're trying to take down voices who are dissenting to the current regime. And when I look at everything going on, YouTube just deplatformed her for no reason. She didn't violate any YouTube guidelines. Up until this indictment was released, she was on good standing, monetized and everything. And then boom, they just take it down. No conviction, no fair trial, no due process. And it's a dangerous precedent because these social media platforms are protected. They are protected from legal action and they're indemnified from anything because they're supposed to be a public forum. When you are just willy-nilly blocking and deplatforming people because of an indictment, which again, an indictment means nothing. There's probably 100 indictments a day we don't hear about that just get thrown out because they were like, no, we didn't do that. Okay. I think that it's just a really dangerous precedent. And YouTube again, man, I mean, geez, guys, like, I'm not understanding. They're just doing it in the open now. Like at least pretend to be a public forum. What they're doing now is just absurd. It's un-American, and we should not stand for it. But what do we do? Like, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, do we pass law? We honestly, like, yes, under that protection, we need to enforce the law. It needs to be it's already there. The protection they're under says that they need to not do this. We need to enforce that. Unfortunately, the Department of Justice is a weaponized agency. They're going to come after us one day. They're already coming after Tim. They're coming after Dave Rubin. And we don't even know if this is legit. I do believe that the payouts were a bit high, but again, like, who's going to put the value on that? Like, having Tim Pool on your platform will bring a lot of new people, opens a lot of eyeballs. So even if he's not getting the money on that video, it lends credibility to the platform. So we don't even know. Yet I don't even believe if she did it, she'd be punished to the full extent of the law. No, that law is bullshit. Well, that law should not exist.
But that's my thing. For what? Okay, so say it's worst case scenario, and she's paid to alter her content, which a lot of people are pointing out that it seems like right when this supposedly happened, she started talking negatively about Trump. Maybe she just had an epiphany. There's a lot of people that when Trump kind of came out, where he's not like absolutely 100% against abortion, that a lot of the right wingers, I saw like almost like a movement of like, well, I'm not voting for him then. Like, that was just stupid because
so stupid.
It's so stupid, right? So maybe that's the case, but I don't even understand how that, like, we know that happens on the other side too. Like this Harry Sisson kid and his other little gay friend that they talk about all the time. They're paid by the Democrat Party to talk shit and even lie about Trump. They are paid to do so, right? They're paid to fabricate shit. So I'm sorry, but that's, if we're accusing, what she did as election interference, that's definitely election interference, Yeah. I don't understand, like, if we don't have the standard of all of us get to say whatever the fuck we want, then it is just a narrative machine. And that's been the problem that I've had for the last 4 or 5 years, even before the pandemic, that it's a narrative machine. Like, okay, well, we have to tell fat people they're okay now. So anybody that speaks ill of fat people, we suppress them. Okay, well, we need to make sure that everybody's terrified of this cold. Anybody that says that it's just a cold, we need to kind of suppress them. Like, that is not freedom of speech, because if somebody is so wrong, it should be easy to disprove. Like, my point by this all the time has been, like, if anybody thinks that I have spread disinformation, misinformation, whatever, come with me with your data. I'll bring my data. We can talk about the data differences and see where it comes from. And that just never happes, because
it does. And then we win. Like the guy who came on before, who we just factually confused. I mean, he a good guy. I just think misdirected and ignorant to what's going on. I'm like, what about this, and this? I wasn't prepared for that. Well, you should be. You're dissenting on political facts. You should have at least a broad knowledge of all of these topics. These topics are all hot topics. So if you're going to come on and say we're X, I'm going to be like, okay, well, let's discuss it. And when you go to discuss these things, they don't know anything. They just go by the liberal talking points. But when you bring up actual tangible facts, they just have nothing. And we've done it twice. We've done it 3 times. And all 3 times we either had the person agree with us, or we had the person just look dumb. Like, just Trump's racist. Okay, well, let's talk about it. And then you're like, cool. Well, here's why I'm voting for Trump. Even if he is, Trump can say, I don't like Jews. I'll be like, cool. I mean, I'm going to go down a list of why I still think he's the better candidate. I mean, look, man, you're not going to have a perfect candidate, and Trump is definitely not a perfect candidate. But but Kamala is a dangerous candidate, a very dangerous candidate. And this clip shows it directly.
Yep.
It's from Colin Noir.
Y'all think this is okay?
We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms, because they have a responsibility.
There's no such thing as hate speech.
Who decides what it is?
Exactly. It's subjective. It's arbitrary. It's bullshit.
To help fight against this threat to our democracy.
Threat to democracy is canceling free speech, you stupid fucking whore.
Yep.
There's my free speech. I hate this bitch.
This is what this is why I could never possibly vote for her.
No,
I
you
mean,
can't
it's
censor.
it's not a possibility.
And you know she's aiming this at Elon.
Oh, yeah.
And the Rumble people. Yeah. It's
Profit off of hate. If you act
profit off of hate. That's literally what the Democrats do.
Yep.
They divide this country like no other.
as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare.
What is misinformation? Because the shit that they said I was misinforming people about ended up being a scientific fact.
Yeah. Hang on.
Look at the data. Look at the increased. Yeah, look at the increased deaths right now. Everything we talked about is true.
Yeah.
Not one lie was said that day. Let's play the rest of this. Colin actually, I think, comes in at the end.
If you don't police your platforms, we are going to
Police your platforms. It's supposed to be a public forum.
Hold you accountable as a community.
Like, I can't be the only one who thinks this is not okay. Like, it's the First Amendment. And no politician, I don't care who you're voting for, whether it's Kamala, Trump, or that one weird guy who was blabbling about on stage. We don't even know where he is now. We don't even know if he's still the president. I don't care who you support, but no one should be okay with the politicians saying they're going to restrict your First Amendment right on social media platforms. I don't give a fuck about mouth-breathing racists spewing hateful bullshit online. It's the First Amendment. And for the people who are like, oh, no, it's a private platform and your First Amendment doesn't account. Shut the fuck up. Yes, it does.
I like him. He's great.
As far as I know, the only one that's actually a private platform is X.
Yeah.
The rest of them are publicly traded.
Exactly.
Telling a private company to censor people's First Amendment right on their platform. That is the same thing. What the fuck is going on in this?
That's fascism. That's government working with private entities. Here's the deal. The reason I was a Democrat in the 90s is because the Democrats, the ACLU literally took the case on behalf of the Ku Klux Klan to defend them.
Yep.
I mean, because it's free speech. So the Democratic Party, which the ACLU is definitely an arm of, used to be the party of free speech, freedom of choice, meaning freedom to choose what you want. Now, abortion was part of that, but the Democrats, at least my belief at the time, which could have been wrong, were like, hey, you know what? You can decide what you want to do with your life. You have that freedom. And somewhere along the line, they become tyrannical. And I think it really reared its head in 2020 with Tim Walz, our vice presidential candidate, putting businesses out of business, literally shutting down Thanksgiving, and then telling neighbors, if your neighbor has a Thanksgiving party, that here's a hotline. You can report them and the cops can come and arrest them.
It's insane. Just absolutely insane.
The fact that anybody's voting for Kamala and Walz gives me, I don't care if they're running against Ronald McDonald, the clown. It's still a better choice than these tyrannical monsters.
I used Grok on X and I asked him what is misinformation? Misinformation refers to information that is false, inaccurate, or misleading, whether spread intentionally or unintentionally. Here are some key points. So just to point that out, whoever gets to decide whoever gets to decide the finality of what is misinformation, which right now is the government through social media, they can just decide what you say is untrue, and then they can punish you, is what basically Kamala Harris is trying to say, which is insane because, one more time, we do have the First Amendment. I'm going to say that if they keep trying to push on the First Amendment this way, maybe it's time we use the second one before they take that one too. But the reality is, like, they're saying intent. Misinformation can be disseminated without any malicious intent. It might simply be arise from errors, misunderstandings, or lack of knowledge. However, it can also be deliberately created to spread with the aim to deceive and manipulate. You mean like, if you take this jab, you won't get it?
Biden should be in jail on that accord. Trump never said that. Trump said, I got this beautiful vaccine, the greatest vaccine ever created, da, 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 da. And I'm like, no. And he's like, all right.
Your Trump is getting better though.
I'm trying. I've been practicing a lot. Just being on, Tim did it when I was on his show, and I think it kind of bled off on me. It kind of bled off. I am, look, man, America is a great nation full of amazing people. Like I have the privilege of traveling the country, of being involved in my community. After this, I'm going to Rotary. I have I coach thousands of kids at the moment. I have the privilege of being in this great country filled with great people, but somehow we went down this path, and it's not their fault. Like I told you, I was talking to a neighbor the other day, and he's like, well, I'm not a gun guy. And he's like, government, they'll never take away your guns. And I'm like, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give you I only have 2 minutes because I just wanted to go for a quick walk. I got work to do. And then I rambled off. I'm like, the rest is up to you to figure out. But the problem is America is so awesome, is so good that people are just tuned out, that they just worry about themselves. I was like that until 2020, guys. I'm not pointing fingers. That's why when you say get there faster, I'm like, dude, it took me till how old was I? I was 40 years old when I figured this out, get there. Now it's time. It's time. We've had enough to show us that we cannot wait any longer. We cannot put this off, because that slippery slope is getting more slippery. It is lubricated. It has Astroglide all over it. It is nasty lubricated. It is so lubricated right now, that slippery slope. And we are getting to the point where the full takeover by this new world order, or whatever you want to call it, it's really scary. And it's a time for us to realize when a politician said, a Democrat would have never said that in the 80s and 90s. They would have, now Democrats never really liked guns. They would have said that, no, we don't like guns. Cool. But never about free speech. Never. If a politician is saying that and they have a chance at winning, guys, this is freak out mode. This is when we start freaking the fuck out, because this is when it gets really, really hairy.
Yeah. Like the attack on the Constitution has been ongoing for decades now, all the way back to the Patriot Act and even way before then. But when you look at how long this is built up to this, like, if you ask yourself this question, could they have possibly did what they did in 2020 if we weren't so fat and weak? No. So that's set up is all the way back to the food pyramid in the 80s. Like they knowingly did this, and they still perpetuate it. Like our government pushes ill health on us, and then they promote pharma, and then the media is bought and paid for by pharma. I hate that people don't understand that, but we watched TV last night for a little bit, 20 pharma ads, like in a half hour show. It seemed like 20.
Wow.
Right? Shit that I didn't even like. They were naming conditions that I didn't even know about, and I'm pretty well versed, right? And I was like, you got to look it up. And I'm thinking in my head, like, they don't get very descriptive about the actual condition, so it causes me to then look it up. And it's normally like, do you feel a little down? Do you feel a little tired? Do you feel stressed? Like, you need this then. Like, so people, especially fat people, lazy people, and people that have been under high stress situations, like being told that a cold's going to kill you for 4.5 years, they might be a little down and depressed. So all of a sudden now they're on another medication. But that's not the goal of it, right? The goal is that they pay these people enough that they get to control the complete narrative. That's why you don't hear them talk about how it's come out that it doesn't stop the transmission stuff. That's why, because they are in control of the narrative. It's basically what they're accusing Lauren Chen of doing. They're accusing Lauren Chen of taking money to then change her narrative.
Bingo.
In fact, that is mainstream media and most of social media 100%. I'm also going to point out that they're saying it's election interference. When are they going to go after Zuckerberg for 2020 then?
Well, they're not, because the DOJ, the FBI, I'm not talking about individual agents, okay? I know individual agents. Yeah, they're good people, okay? I'm talking about the agency. I'm talking about the bosses they hate, okay? Yeah. They are weaponized. They are no longer, they are literally, they are the enemy of the people. I'm saying it. Yep. The DOJ, the FBI, they're the enemy of the people. They are targeting people who dissent, and that is anti-American. And so I'm not saying they're the enemy of the people like Japan attacking Pearl Harbor. I'm saying that they no longer work for us. Right. They work for the regime. So I'm in a situation now. Look, man, I mean, they're coming after everybody. And Tim is so you got Rogan and Carlson. And I guarantee you Rogan's gone through some shit, but Rogan's almost too powerful. You saw what he did to CNN. So then you got the second tier. And the second tier is fucking huge. Like second tier of this industry is, and we've already done, I did the numbers. It's about 20 times bigger than the first tier in the fitness industry. So it's fucking huge. Yep. And I've done the numbers because I'm a businessman. Right. Okay. Tim Pool is enormous. Yeah. Going after Tim, that's step one. They're going to go after. So when you arrest a drug dealer, you don't give a shit about the drug dealer. You want to get the supplier. Right. Tim is going straight to the top. You're going right below Tucker and Rogan, and they're going to get it too. Don't worry. They're going to get them. But you're going to that second tier, which is still enormous. And you're sending a shot to everybody like, hey, shut the fuck up or we are going to find something. And that's what they did to Trump. Trump was the ringleader. So they showed that they can indict Trump on false charges that don't make sense for a crime that wasn't even listed on the indictment. So what he was convicted for was the misdemeanor leading to a federal crime, of which they never listed a federal crime. He was indicted and convicted for nothing, for no crime. Think about that. So they showed us as Americans, if we could do this to the most powerful guy on your side, meaning the side that's not leftist, cultist assholes. And Trump's an asshole, so he's one of three. We can do it to anybody. We can do it to you. We could take down your family. They say, show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Every one of us has something that they can find. Or they'll simply make shit up and they'll find a jury that's sympathetic to them. Or government has unlimited funds. So if the government comes after me tomorrow, I have to pay an attorney. They'll literally keep you in litigation until you're bankrupted anyway. Yeah. The government does not work for the people anymore. The government works for the government. And right now, the government is controlled by the left. They are controlled by a cult. They are controlled by a gang. Worse than any cartel you've ever seen.
So one of the, and that's 100% true. And here's actually some valid proof. I wanted to say that here's why it is so important for Tim Pool's, Steven Crowder's, Tucker Carlson's, Luke Rakowski's, even the Quartering, all these guys. It's very important, especially when they have people on the ground. James O'Keefe. It's so important to have these people because when you take a look at what Steven Crowder did this week, it's kind of amazing because and I'll read it to you.
Oh,
this is Steven Crowder's undercover video showing the DOJ Chief of Public Affairs, Nicholas Blaze, which, by the way, I hope this man's okay. I'm just saying, I hope he's okay because if I was him, I would be very, 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 very scared that something was going to happen. But Nicholas J. says the DOJ, Democrats, and Alvin Bragg are out to get Trump at all costs. And here it is. This is quite an amazing piece of journalism. And the weird thing is this is actual journalism. This should be the front page news of every newspaper. This should be the story that every news outlet is talking about. But only on X is it being spoken about. But here you go.
Nicholas Biasi is the Chief of Public Affairs for the Department of Justice's Southern District of New York. Something you may be familiar with, and the most prominent federal trial court in America.
Those felonies did nothing to stop Trump from running.
No, in fact, they made him more relevant.
Did that backfire?
Sure did.
And the whole thing is disgusting. They're just out to get him.
And that's why, he's surging in the polls. It's a perversion of justice. He's stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense.
State levels are Wild West. They're like idiots. They don't care. They're all political. So yeah, this guy's probably going to try to lock him up, and it's going to be ugly. They're so obsessed with getting him.
Who is they?
Alvin Bragg, yeah, who I've known for 15 years. He used to work in my office. Before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who he was? You do now. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So Alvin's very ambitious. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this until him.
It's insane.
Wow. And that just goes to show you the power of vagina.
Yeah.
That woman,
Right.
she sounded hot. She sounded hot. I'm guessing she's attractive. So like, if you put, I don't think I'd be susceptible to it because I'm blind. I have a wife. I don't care. Like, I'm serious. Like, a woman could be flashing in front of me like, oh, look, boobies. But I'll just, it's like a Christmas tree ornament at this point in my life, you know? But like, it goes to show you, you put a hot chick in front of a dude who's straight, and he's going to be like, huh? Yeah, we totally stole that money. Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
And then when they find a gay guy, James O'Keefe flirts with them. that was my favorite part. James became gay like 2 times. It was amazing. The guy is amazing. I love that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's scary. That news reporter. Kimberly brought up the news reporter from Texas. Remember those hot chicks when we were like, we compared them to CNN? Texas had the hot. Yeah, that was my favorite episode. We're like, dude, Texas is doing it right. Look, man, I'm not going to lie. I am biased towards attractive females.
Well, actually, every heterosexual male is. I mean, it's biologically hardwired. It's just weird. Like, we're in a society that wants to deny this, but we're biologically hardwired to view in shape, athletic, members of the opposite sex attractive because that's how the species goes.
Dude, Alan, like, you got to admit, like, so one thing, like, you're sitting across from an attractive woman, and it's not Zoom, so you feel their presence and all the pheromones, because good-looking women usually smell really nice. Like, you have a good smelling woman, you're in a good spot. I'm not talking about all the perfume and stuff. Women emit this like fragrance of beauty. And you're like, and I know what this, I'm not mad at this dude. For example, I actually think he's kind of cool for talking about it. And I like his opinions. He's just doing his job, so this guy is just like, man, this chick's hot. What do you want me to say? Oh,
yeah.
All right. And then he like, I'm just like, I'm putting myself in like a single guy's shoes. Like, you're sitting there and you're like, man, I'll say anything.
Yeah, I'll say anything right now. I don't care.
Anything.
It's and they do a good job of gassing them up, but also the one thing I can honestly say, it does seem like that everybody that they get to just start spilling their guts, it almost seems like these people are at a confessional. Like they're just trying to get off of them. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that they're just able to just scratch the wall a little bit, and then the leak starts, and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But so now we have somebody from the DOJ saying that they know these charges are trumped up, and it's the Democrats. That means this is not America right now. Like,
we're lost.
That's just not. And I keep saying this all the time, and people don't want to understand this. Like, you don't vote out tyranny. Trump, I believe, is putting together, like, I'm kind of impressed. Like, he's already started talking about government efficiency. I was like, oh my God, we've talked about that for years. But
Elon Musk heading it up.
Yeah.
The guy who runs mega billion trillion dollar companies. That's who I want in government.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes.
Dude, you know what? I'm going to say it. Put Zuckerberg in there. Zuckerberg, everyone's like, he's an idiot. The guy, okay, he kind of had it. He kind of screwed his partner over allegedly, right? Yeah. But I want billionaires. Put Mark Cuban in it. Mark Cuban, not an idiot. He has some weird takes, but Mark Cuban's the man in business. I'm not going to lie. And he's really good at business. Look, man, you don't have to agree with him. Like, I talked to Tim about this off camera. And I'm like, because we were having a conversation, Tim walked in and I'm like, dude, I don't understand. you could disagree with Mark Cuban and say his takes are dumb, but say Mark Cuban has an IQ of 86. Well, that means that you should do better in life. If that dude can become a billionaire, like without having a high IQ, and he's a smart dude. The guy owned the Mavericks. He owned a basketball team. He was controlling owner. So look, I'd have a dream team. I'd be like, look, dude, if I'm Trump, I'm putting Cuban, I'm putting Zuckerberg, and I'll put him in charge of something that's business related. Hey, I know you don't like me, but do you want to make America awesome? What do you think's wrong? Okay, how about this sector? I want you to run it. You'll get a government salary, but you're doing a good duty and then put it public. Like, hey, I invited Mark Cuban on my staff. And if Mark Cuban says no, he just looks like an asshole. Yeah. I mean, I think it's great. I think
it's a beautiful idea.
But inviting RFK and Tulsi and Musk makes sense because Musk is aligned with him. But dude, like you want to be the unity party? I mean, after you get elected, I'm not saying bring in people like Fauci or, government. I'm talking bringing in minds, just brains. Like, hey, I know you don't agree with me on a lot of things, and that's why I want you here. I want people here who will advocate for what's best for America. I want the best and brightest. I'm recruiting. And I'm recruiting business owners. I'm recruiting billionaires. I'm recruiting millionaires. I'm recruiting people who are best. I'm recruiting someone like you in health secretary. Like, you're the guy. You're in charge. I'm like, Alan Roberts. Do you mean that guy who curses on YouTube? Yes, Alan Roberts. That's the guy, because he will help make our country healthy again.
Well, the big key factor is you have to care about the country, and I think that's where it's at right now. I do think that like when you take Musk, for example, he's been saying for a long time, like I remember it was in 2020, he was like, we need to start drilling, like he was like, I'm the solar, he was like, I'm the electric car guy, but I'm saying we need to start drilling and fracking because we're about to have an energy crisis.
And we need more people.
Yeah. And he's also ringing the alarm about depopulation, which it blows my mind how people don't understand this concept, right? If you look at society is going to become so top heavy with sick and elderly people that the healthier young people are going to be so few in number that they are not going to be able to possibly support the needs and the needs and lives of the elderly and the debilitated. Like it's not only is it a double-edged sword where we're just not even producing that many people anymore. I mean, we're down to it being like 1.3 children per couple. Does not come close to refill rate. But then when you look at it, a good 60 to 70% of these people that are being produced out of the 1.3 are not going to live long, fruitful lives because they're going to, like, the average age of life expectancy is just going to plummet here shortly. And it's already dropping. It's already dropping. So
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I think it could be climate change.
Yeah, it's definitely climate change, bro. Because because carbon's not good for plants.
Well, hey, speaking of, and we got time. You got another 5?
I got it. Let's do it.
All right. Oh, shoot. This is that one. This is yours. Hold on. Let me bring up mine. There it is. Okay. We will talk in YouTube now. From Alex Burnson, who's actually a leftist, but he was on the right side of history in 2020, so I accept him.
Yes.
There are maybe 6 Karens left in the entire U.S. still getting C jabs. Really, check Moderna's sales and stock price. And the New York Times is there for it. You talk about, we talked about before, government collusion with foreign and domestic agents. And yes, Pfizer is a domestic agent. And this is written because they pay the New York Times a lot of money. There's no other reason any objective reporter would write this. No other reason. Sorry, you're not going to convince me. All your questions about the new C shots answered. We asked experts where and when you should get them and how to lessen side effects.
How to lessen side effects.
Wait, hold on. Side effects, Alan? I could have sworn they told us these were safe and effective for everyone with no side effects.
Unbelievable. It's amazing what they're admitting. And here's the thing. They're giving up on it. And I'll tell you why. Because it's no longer free to the people. It's going to be like $200.
$200. $200. It's like, hey,
0 people are getting that. 0 people are getting that.
I was joking around with, there's a lot of base dads who are swole. And we were just joking around. I'm like, dude, I'm not taking a shot that could take years off my life unless it's going to add 10 to 20 pounds of lean muscle mass. That's where I'm at. Like, if I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to get huge. And I'm kind of joking, but I'm not. There's really no benefit because it doesn't prevent it. It doesn't, there's no proof that it lessens symptoms. It's all anecdotal. Like there's no proof that it lessens symptoms. None. There's no study that shows an actual randomized controlled study that it lessens symptoms. And that study would actually, if you look at how to actually set up a study, design a study, that study can be easily designed.
Yep.
And and the government has unlimited resources. So who cares how much it costs?
Mm-hmm.
Prove us wrong. Prove us wrong. No one's proved us wrong. Well, I got it and I'm okay. You got it? So I got polio and I'm okay. Like what? It's absolutely absurd. The fact that this is still even there, but the media is doing it because that is who pays their bills. That is not an editorial. That is an advertorial. An advertorial is an advertisement that is disguised as editorial. That's what we used to call it at Weeder. So we actually, Muscle Tech used to do that back in the day. We made them put advertisement we had a certain type font we had to use because they're like, no, we have to do these ads. I'm like, okay, can we meet in the middle and at least put advertisement somewhere on the page? Because like the New York Times, we needed the money. We needed the revenue. So we sold out. Muscle Tech was spending they were spending over $11 million in muscle and fitness that year.
Damn.
$11 million.
So of course,
thank you, Muscle Tech. Thank you.
Anybody that would critique their product is it's not going to make print.
Bingo. We never criticized. All we did, we'd find something good. Like for example, if they have a product with 4 shit ingredients, 1 good one, we would do an article write up on the good ingredient and then say, hey, you can also find it in this product.
Yeah.
And look,
perfect.
Would I do that now? I'm not sure. I mean, I was a part of a system. I sold advertising. I was 21. I was between the ages of 19 and 24. I was just like, dude, I'm making the bag. Like, that's what I was thinking at the time. And
I'm making the bag. I'm young, married, and kid on the way.
Yeah. I mean, a kid on the way was 25. So that was right at the end of the Weeder. That was when it was American Media. So I was actually selling. Guys, if you want to hate me even more, want to know what company I worked for 2 years? American Media, the Inquirer, the Star, Mira en Español. And I was actually one of the people making the decisions there.
I will say this. If they hate you for that, they should hate everybody that works for MSNBC.
They should.
There's like, because the articles on the Star and Inquirer and all that shit from 20 years ago are more based in reality than some of the shit that gets said on MSNBC.
Yes. I mean,
way more based.
So there was always at least a shred of evidence so they wouldn't get sued. Like their legal team was probably bigger than their editorial team.
And that's out that every time that they talked about aliens, they were right. And they made it look wrong. Like every other week, the Inquirer was like, "Are aliens here?" And everyone's like, "Oh, that's crazy." And all of a sudden, 20 years later, like the government's like, "Yeah, aliens are here."
Man, I learned a lot, made a lot of money, sold a lot of ads. It was fun. It was a good time. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was a great time in my life. I loved working for American Media. David Pecker is the CEO still. We're the ones who got the anthrax threat. That was us. That was our New York office. Luckily, I was in the Woodland Hills, California office, but it was a crazy time. But you know what's going to be more crazy, Alan?
What's that?
Tonight. It is Friday Night Lights. Football, baby. Page versus Franklin. Crosstown rivals. Let's fucking go.
Good luck to everybody, man. Good luck to everybody. It's going to
be a great night. Let me show you how I started my day. This is my morning. I already sent this to you, but this is the baseball team we coach. I want you to see the culture in this room. I mean, it is just astounding. Let me turn on the volume. It doesn't do justice without the volume. So this is the last kid getting his max set. So it's so good. Like the entire team gathers around and cheers on the last guy. It's such a great culture, such a great experience. If you don't coach kids, do it. Yeah. I'm not saying like on a professional level, but if your kid plays t-ball, be an assistant. You don't even need to know the game. Go out there and just be an assistant coach, help shag balls, do whatever. They're not going to say no. Or just simply go to practice and watch. And if they need a hand, just help them. It's the most rewarding thing you could do for yourself and for the children, building strong young men and women. And that's, if you don't do anything altruistic in your life, do something selfish that's also altruistic. Coach your own children, and in turn, you will impact so many lives along the way, building up these strong men and women. I tweeted this, I posted this earlier on Twitter, on X, whatever, I'm getting them confused, is that normally if you look at these people who commit the atrocities in schools, they're normally not athletes.
Nope.
So just saying, we could do our part. It starts with the youth, and I'm not saying go there and wear a MAGA hat. Don't do that. Don't be an idiot, but go there, be a positive influence, instill hard work ethic, values, and those are all things you could do through the power of youth sports. And I will preach that day in, day out. One more shout out, Alan, if you don't mind. If you are in the Tennessee area, Franklin, Tennessee, Brentwood, Tennessee, my son on his own, I didn't even know he was going to do this.
This
has
is badass.
started. It's TennesseeCarCleaning.com. This is my son's company. He now has a staff. He's crushing it. So he's going around and they're literally going door to door, detailing cars. There's contact info if you go down here, the contact us. And if you want to support, these kids are doing this to pay for their wrestling tournaments, to pay for, going to Iowa for nationals, going to Virginia Beach. Those are all things that he wants to pay for himself because he's a good kid. So I'm going to tear up.
Dude, it's amazing, bro. Like, I mean, he's a teenager and did this all on his own, man. Like, you should be very, very, very proud of him.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And dude, don't be sorry,
yeah,
man. Dude,
yeah, but it's. He's
kid. That's
so he
the world needs more of that shit.
Trains his ass off, goes to school, and when he has free time, he's out there washing cars. So again, if you're in the Franklin, Brentwood, Tennessee area, go support your boy. So it's TennesseeCarCleaning.com.
And that's not a game.
And he made that site himself too.
I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
I'm super, super, super impressed, man.
Smart kid. But anyway, we'll be back Monday. You'll be back Monday. I'm actually at that conference Monday through Wednesday.
Oh, you are? Okay, so it's going to be me.
Sucks.
Tuesday, it's just going to be me for the debate.
Oh God, yeah. I'll be stuck in a room with a bunch of retailers. It's gonna be a lot. I'm actually looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. But yeah, it's a big show for us. The whole team's coming. Adam, Sean, Mike. It'll be a hell of a time. I would tell you guys where we're at, but no one's invited. It's a private conference. So anyway, thanks so much, Alan. Do you have an ad?
I will take care of it, sir.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Everybody have a great weekend, and we will talk soon.
Yes, sir.
Ladies, come here. If you want to burn body fat, not just a little bit, but a lot, I got the perfect stack for you. It's 3 products. Ember, which is a powerful thermogenic that you take in the morning, suppresses your appetite to a degree, and it raises your metabolic rate and have you burning calories all day long. Alchemy. What Alchemy is going to do is it allows you to eat those carbs in your meal guilt-free. It's going to take those carbs and burn it off as fuel, so you have plenty of energy throughout the day. Before you go to bed, you're going to take no morbidity. It's the best part of the stack because while you sleep a deep, restful sleep, it's going to be burning calories, burning fat all night long. So you're going to wake up not feeling groggy, feeling refreshed, ready to go about your day. So we got you covered all day long. This is called the Holy Trinity Stack. And ladies, it's for y'all, for the queens.